All right, today we're going to unravel a genuine molecular mystery. It's a story about a part of our DNA that's been hiding in plain sight, and it pretty much challenges everything we thought we knew about our own genetic code.
So let me ask you this. Do you think of your DNA as a perfect instruction manual? You know, this flawless, polished blueprint for building a human without a single mistake? Well, what if that's not the whole story?
Yeah, you should probably think again. The reality is actually way more interesting. Our DNA is more like a living museum, and it's absolutely packed with what scientists have started calling molecular fossils, these ghostly echoes of ancient genes that haven't been active for millions of years.
Now, these fossils have a proper scientific name, pseudogenes. And a pseudogene is basically a DNA sequence that looks almost exactly like a working gene, but it's broken. It's got mutations that have switched it off so it can't make a protein anymore.
Here's a really easy way to picture it. Think of a broken light bulb. It's got the glass, the filament, it screws into the socket just fine. But when you flick the switch, nothing happens. That's a pseudogene. It's got the right look, but the function is gone.
This, of course, brings up a really good question. If these genes are broken, where in the world do they come from? How did our genome get haunted by all of these molecular ghosts in the first place?
Well, it usually happens in one of two ways. First, sometimes a gene just gets accidentally copied during replication. Now you've got a spare. And since the original is still doing its job, this new copy is free to pick up mutations and basically rust away over time. The other way is through a process called retrotransposon, which sounds complicated, but it's basically a genetic copy-paste error. A message from a gene gets turned back into DNA and stuck somewhere else in the genome, but it gets pasted in without its on switch, so it's non-functional right from the start. Okay, so this is where our story takes a huge plot twist. Because for decades, the scientific community had a very simple and it turns out very wrong idea about what all these broken genes were for.
They just called it junk DNA. Seriously, the thinking was that these were just useless evolutionary leftovers. Kind of like clutter in your attic that you never get around to throwing out. Just taking up space, doing nothing.
But here's the thing. That junk theory never felt quite right. Evolution is incredibly efficient. It doesn't like to waste energy. So why would it let us carry around all this supposed trash for millions of years? It just didn't add up. There had to be something else going on.
And guess what? There was. It turns out these genes aren't dead at all. They're much more like zombie genes. They've risen from the evolutionary grave, but they've come back with entirely new and surprisingly important jobs.
So, if they can't make proteins anymore, how in the world are these undead genes making things happen? Let's dig into their secrets.
They've got a few key tricks up their sleeve. First, they can act like a sponge. They soak up other molecules that might interfere with their functional sibling gene, basically acting as a decoy. Second, they can actively silence other genes. They produce little bits of RNA that can block a working gene's message, kind of like turning down the volume. And maybe the coolest part? They act as a sandbox for evolution, a safe place where nature can tinker and experiment with new genetic ideas without messing up the important stuff.
Now, this is all really cool biology, but you might be wondering, how does this affect me? Well, it turns out these broken genes are a huge deal. They play a role in everything from our diet to our health. Get this. Most animals can actually make their own vitamin C. They have a working gene for it. Humans? Nope. Our version of that gene is a broken pseudogene. That one genetic flaw is the single reason why you and I have to eat oranges and strawberries to stay healthy. It completely changed our biology. And the implications are even more profound. We're now discovering that when these so-called silent genes get out of whack, when they're not regulated properly, they can be involved in a whole range of complex diseases. Their silence, it turns out, is actually a really important part of keeping us healthy.
So what's the big lesson here? What's the main takeaway from the wild story of the pseudogene? For me, it's a powerful reminder that in biology, nothing is truly wasted. What looks like junk today might be repurposed by evolution into something essential tomorrow.
And that leaves us with this incredible new perspective. Our genome isn't just a simple set of instructions. It's this dynamic, complex ecosystem. And what we used to dismiss as silence, well, it's actually a hidden layer of control, a secret network, quietly shaping who we are from the shadows.